Hi, my name is Tony. I am the creator and developer of a game that I call Variant Memory. If you'd like to learn more about the game or about what I hope to achieve with the game, you can go to variantmemory.com and check out the videos entitled The Game and the Goal. This video is just a quick introduction to me, and I actually call this video The Guy. Most people, first thing they're probably thinking is, what are all the tubes and wires for? Most of this is how I control either the computer or my wheelchair. I'll start with the headset that I'm wearing. You can see that it has three sensors, one on each side and one at the top above my head, and this white puff tube that I keep in the corner of my mouth. That actually drives the mouse cursor around the screen. So whichever I move my head, up, down, left, right, and whatever speed I move, it moves the mouse cursor, as you can see. By puffing on the tube, that works just generally as a regular mouse click. Thought I'd also give you a quick demo of how I actually type. You can see on the screen I have an on-screen or virtual keyboard with all the keys on it. And just like before, whenever I move my head around, the mouse pointer tracks my head movements, and when I get to the letter that I want to type, I simply puff on the tube and that types the letter for me. It's a little slow going, one at a time, but it works for me. The other two tubes here in front of me, that white tube and the blue tube, are connected to my wheelchair and move around whenever I do. The headset actually comes off anytime that I'm not on the computer. But the blue tube is simply water. So I don't have to ask someone every time I want to get just a plain drink of water. The white tube is actually how I control my wheelchair. I use various combinations of sips and puffs to drive the wheelchair. Like a hard puff would make it go forward. A light puff would make it turn to the right. Hard sip, if I'm already going forward, makes it stop. Or if I'm already stopped, makes it go into reverse. Things like that. The same commands also allow me to either recline the chair up or down. And there's a few other functions that I can control with those same commands as well. Another question that I'm asked regularly is some form of, have you always been disabled? Or what happened? Or were you born this way? Well, actually, no, I wasn't born with any type of disability. I actually grew up with a fairly typical life of a kid that grew up in the rural South. I learned to hunt and fish. I played football and baseball. I spent many days, running the woods like a good Southern boy, I guess. However, when I was 14, Sunday, February 21st, 1988, that typical childhood came to an end. I can still remember it vividly. Coming home from church, heading in and changing my church clothes. Mom was in the kitchen and my stepdad was outside heating up the deep fryer for a fish fry we were going to have that afternoon. And I headed off 2 doors down to my best friend's house. I thought we'd get a little bit of playtime in before the fish fry, or it was time for lunch. I found him there by himself, and us being 2 teenage boys, decided we would see what mischief we could get into. His dad was a prison guard, and he had 2 pistols in his closet. And although we had both had gun safety classes and have been hunting many times, we rarely had access to handguns. We found a .357 and a 9mm and took them out. The revolver was easy to unload. You just open the cylinder and dump out the bullets. But a 9mm semi-automatic takes a little more precision. Neither of us remember exactly, but we must have racked the slide before we took the magazine out, leaving 1 bullet in the chamber. I'm holding the .357, he's holding the 9mm, and all I remember is the room swirling, my head swimming, and then I'm slumped against the wall. He's in front of me, yelling, begging me to get up, and I can't. I don't know why. I hadn't heard a shot, hadn't seen the muzzle flash. I simply couldn't move. My arms and legs wouldn't respond. He ran out and returned shortly with my stepfather and a family friend. They moved me into the dining room. I remember my mother coming to the door and them trying to block her way, but she wouldn't be denied. I remember my grandmother, who lived directly across the street, coming in with a very concerned yet somehow comforting look on her face. Everything from then on is just kind of flashes. Even today, it's really more like seeing a movie scene or something more than my own memories. But it's funny what the actual mind does remember in a time like that. I vividly remember on the ambulance ride, the EMT having to kind of gently chide me, telling me that the oxygen mask that I had on my face was there for a good reason, was there to help me, and that I should stop trying to wiggle it off with my chin and my tongue. I remember my stepbrother, who was in the Air Force and stationed a few hours away, coming in the next day, bringing a small stuffed animal. And I remember being loaded into the helicopter, although I don't remember the actual flight, to be transferred to Atlanta to Shepherd Spinal Center. After 4 months of rehab, I returned home to a decidedly atypical life. A few months later, I headed back to school, but they decided that I should only do half days and that I should take a less rigorous course load. But after a very short time watching daytime soaps, I decided that I was ready to attend full time again and that I should be placed back in the advanced and gifted classes that I'd been in before I was injured. 4 years later, I scored a 1400 on my SAT and graduated ninth in a class of about 400. And all my peers that had achieved it at that level were heading off to college, so I thought I would too. Much to my mother's dismay, I chose to go about 3.5 hours away from home to the University of Georgia. They offered me a better scholarship and a much better disability services than Georgia Tech. After 4.5 years in college, I graduated with a degree in computer science. The previous summer, I had earned an internship at one of the United States Navy's premier research and development laboratories. And upon graduating, they offered me a full-time position. So I've spent the past 19 years as a software developer for the Navy. I work mainly on mine countermeasure systems. That's finding and eliminating underwater mines. I like to think I help keep our sailors and Marines safe as they travel the world trying to keep us safe. Obviously, this is pretty far from mobile gaming. In fact, the reason I started writing Variant Memory was simply to teach myself a few technologies with which I was unfamiliar. I know it's not a professional quality game, but it did turn out decent. If you'd like to try it out or see what I hope to achieve with it, you can check it out at variantmemory.com. Thanks. Bye.